What is up, Gato Squad? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Elias. If you are new here and you like car content, make sure you hit that button below to subscribe. So as you can see behind me, we're reviewing a 2017 Honda Accord V6 Touring. And it's an awesome car. I have a lot of thoughts to share. So let's get right into it. So here we are, guys, the 2017 Honda Accord with the V6 in the Touring package. So this is basically the top end Honda Accord you could have bought last year, and I'm happy to be covering it. Thanks to Honda Pakistan, of course, for letting me driving it around. Of course, my Type R is at service, so this is one of their courtesy vehicles. They don't have to do that, but I'm glad they do because it gives me an opportunity to drive these cars, and it's a nice thing to give their customers that are waiting on their cars to be fixed a car to drive. Not many Honda dealerships do that, but Honda Pakistan does. Alright, so with all that said, how has my experience been with the Honda Accord the last few days? Well, let's start with the exterior. Now, I covered the exterior in the previous Honda Accord that I drove, the 4-cylinder Sport Honda Accord. Very similar exterior. It's got the sport wheels, which not my biggest cup of tea. I'm not a big fan of the way the car looks overall. I think it's got a few too many things going on, especially when coupled with this black paint. The chrome really stands out. Now, if you're a fan of chrome, you're probably going to like this car, but I'm not, so I wasn't a fan of the way it looks. Not that I really mind that much. It's just that not my biggest cup of tea. If I were to get a car like this, I would probably go for one of the previous generation models. I like that design a little bit better. The front end is just way too busy with too many things going on. It's got those daylight running lamps, which look pretty cool by themselves, but when you add the chrome to it, there's too many things shining at the same time. The headlights actually are amazing at night. They work really well. You can see very far out. It's very clear at night, but when you look at them during the daytime especially, I don't like the way they look. Again, looks are subjective, so these are just my feelings on it. To the interior. Now, the interior of the car is actually its best part. This is the Touring model, remember, and the Touring model of this car is going to have everything, all the amenities you could ever think of. We're going to cover a couple of the driving things that it has, like the lane watch assist and the radar guided cruise control during the drive portion. But in terms of seat comfort, Cockpit is amazing. It's so comfortable. You step into it and it's like sitting on your favorite couch. Now, the only negative I really see about this driver's seat is that while it does have lumbar support, it does, I don't feel like it's supportive enough. I was driving it around on the highway for a long time. I put already 350 miles on this thing, which is because I drive a lot. And after a while, yeah, the seats are comfortable, but I feel like they should have some more bolstering here and there. I guess I'm used to being in cars that are heavily bolstered. For example, the 3 Series that I own and, of course, the Type R are both very bolstered vehicles. So, this thing, while initially very comfortable, I love the way the leather feels, the perforated leather. It is heated seats, which is amazing as well. There is a little bit of negative there. Everything else it has, of course, like I said, this is the Touring, so it has heated mirrors, which is awesome to have on the winters. It's got remote start, which I love. I'm really missing out on remote start. I have no vehicle that has remote start. I wish I had one. We're going to change that pretty soon, though, probably with a truck. So more on that, obviously, in other videos. In terms of storage space, there's tons of it everywhere. There's pockets, there's cubby holes. This center console is huge and nicely padded, by the way. Everything feels just nicely padded, very well done. My only personal gripe is that it's a little bit too big for my taste, so I feel like I don't have a cocoon around me. I don't have things exactly where I want them to be. I'm kind of used to being in a smaller vehicle where, you know, I can place my elbows down and control the steering wheel much easier that way. Again, this is just probably, I'm the only person in the world that probably thinks this way, but I'm just sharing with you my experience. Alright, enough of me talking about the exterior and the interior of the car. Let's take a drive. Oh yeah, sounds really good. So first, let's take a moment to talk about the driver's cockpit. And let's talk about the dashboard first. So I think the dash is not my favorite dash, but it's decent. It's got everything you need to know, especially for the regular driver. Now I would prefer that the big dial would be the RPM gauge, but instead it is the speedometer. It is an automatic transmission, so it probably makes sense that way. I don't like that big green lights that show you how green you're driving. There's no way to turn that off, unfortunately. Actually, there is. Put it in sport mode and turns off, but then you're stuck on sport mode. Put it back in drive, those green lights turn on. Good to know. Other than that, it's a pretty decent dashboard. I like the analog gauges. I'm not a big fan of digital gauges yet, and the Type R is all digital now, so that goes to show you I prefer analog to digital. Now, the driver steering wheel is good. It's very good, just a tad bit large for my taste, but again, this is a family vehicle, not a sports car, so it makes sense to have it this way. It's very comfortable to drive. The actual steering feedback is not very direct, unfortunately, but it's what you'd expect from electronic steering wheel and steering rack from a family sedan. The actual leather is really nice. Unfortunately, it's not perforated, so it does get a little bit sweaty on your hands, and that's something you gotta keep in mind. Now, a couple of other thoughts I want to mention is the fact that I do like this double screen stack here. Not a lot of people actually like that. I do like it. I like having separate screens for different things. This down here is a radio. I don't like the fact that it's all touchscreen, the radio, but that's besides the fact that there's two screens. I love that I can put information up here and information down here, and there's a separate climate control right down here. I like that a lot. Now, by far my biggest gripe in this whole cockpit is not being able to control the volume unless you use that volume control, touchscreen volume control on the radio. It doesn't have any volume knob anywhere here, which is very annoying, and that's something that I'd never thought I would see, but Honda did do it. On the Type R, we have a similar radio, but the steering wheel has a volume function that you can use instead of a volume knob, and it works just fine. With this, you have to use that touchscreen, and it sucks. No other word for it. Other than that, as I said, it's very roomy in here. I feel like I'm not really attached to the car. I'm kind of along for the ride, but that's how it is on a comfortable touring sedan. Let's talk about now these technologies that are on here. So we got radar guided cruise control, which works fantastically on the highway. So you'll get on the highway, you get on there, you set your speed. I usually set it around 75, 80, and just stay in the middle lane. Somebody gets in front of me, it'll slow down, and as soon as that person gets out of my way, it'll speed up again. I was underestimating how good that was. It really takes a lot of the attention away from driving. Now, would I buy a car with this technology nowadays? No, and that's because, again, I feel more and more disconnected from the car and from the drive, and I just don't like that. The other thing it has is this lane watch assist, or lane keep assist, as they call it, and it'll actually read the lane markings, and it'll tell you when you're coming out of the lane. But on top of that, especially on the highway, it's struggling right now on these back roads, but on the highway, it'll actually drive for you. All you gotta do is keep firm pressure on the steering wheel, and it'll actually take the turns for you on the highway. I found it to be actually really amazing. It's almost autonomous, but again, it only works on the highway, and it doesn't always work, so you can't just let go of the steering wheel and expect it to do everything. That's how you have a crash. With that said, I'm looking forward to see them improve on this. Would I buy a car with this technology again? No, not really for me. Not something I would look into. I just saved that squirrel's life. But there you have it. Now, how does this car drive? Well, going down a normal road is actually really comfortable. It is a sportier sedan than, let's say, a Camry or Mercedes S-Class. In terms of that, you do feel the road a little bit better. You feel like you're more handling oriented in terms of how the car feels, how the chassis is set up. However, you really don't feel what's going on with the tires. That's again because of the steering feel. The steering rack is just very vague, very artificial feeling, and there's no real way to improve that. I'm going to put it in sport mode. Yep, the steering wheel did not change at all. The transmission, however, is more aggressive now. And we find ourselves on a nice little stretch of empty road. What are we going to do, guys? We're going to send it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, beautiful V6. That's why I've been enjoying this car so much. It's all about the V6 under the hood. Again, if you go back to that 2017 Honda Accord Sport that I drove with the 4-cylinder and the CVT, I really did not like the drive in that car, and it mainly had to do with the CVT and kind of killed all the joy of the car. This car is not a sport; it is a touring. Even with that V6, it has a regular automatic transmission, and with that regular automatic, you feel the car actually accelerate. Let's take some turns here. Oh man, I love the way that V6 sounds. And the transmission holds the rev for you. Now, one of the main problems in this car is that the brake rotors are just too small for my liking. You hear the transmission self-upshifting there, downshifting. Sounds really cool. I like that. This chassis is quite capable. Of course, there's no Type R or anything like that, but for what it is, I am impressed at how it can handle. It does have a very heavy V6 up there, so it will understeer at the limit, of course. But for what it is, the driving is pretty impressive, and that V6 is just so lovely. First, I do want to say that that backup camera is very crisp, very nice. It looks really good. But this car is a dying breed. Honda no longer sells the Accord with a V6. Now, in terms of fuel mileage, it is a V6, and this is why they're moving over to the Turbo 4. Fuel mileage has been excellent on the highway and terrible on local roads. So on the highway, it was getting me actually close to 29, 30 miles to the gallon at around 75 miles an hour average. So that's actually pretty good. On local driving, however, it'll get me closer to around 22, 23 miles to the gallon, which is what you'd expect from a V6 like this. Now combined, I've been averaging around 23.8. That's what that says right there. And that's because I've been doing this quite a lot. It's hard to help yourself. It is a great sounding V6, and it is a great, great engine. We're gonna miss it. Now, with all of that said, who would this car be for? It'd be for the person that wants an extremely comfortable yet very capable and powerful sedan that they can use on the highway for very long distances, turn their technology on, that lane keep assist and that radar guided cruise control, and relax, don't have to worry about anything. The V6 effortlessly goes up hills. It's beautiful the way it works. It's for that person that does occasionally like to hit the go pedal and listen to that engine roar, but also the person that enjoys to be nice and comfortable in their daily commute. So, is the car for a person like me? No, but I can see the appeal of why this car did so well. Alright guys, there you have it. That's my review of the 2017 Honda Accord V6 Touring. Thanks again for Honda of Hackettstown for giving it to me as a courtesy vehicle while my Type R is getting worked on. If you have any questions, as always, put it down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.